Large intestine. Large intestine or large bowel is the last part of GIT. It begins in the right iliac region. Above it is connected with the ileum, third part of the smallest intestine, and below ends at anus. This is about the definition of this large intestine. You know, its connection with ileum is marked with ileocecal junction and ileocecal valve. It is wider and shorter, about 1.5 meter than the small intestine. Due to large diameter, it is known as large intestine. We see that this is a smaller in length, 1.5 meter only to a small intestine, but it is wider than its diameter is large, therefore it is known as large intestine. Due to presence of series of sacules known as hastria, it appears segmented. Presence of sacules, this is known as that is known as there is hastria, and therefore it appears segmented, not very smooth surface like a small intestine. There is some sacules in the large intestine. We will see in later. Then a structure from outside to inside, a structure of large intestine. As usual in GIT, it also has 4 layers from, that is from outside to inside. They are serous layer, muscular layer, outer longitudinal and inner circular layer. At the lower end of the rectum, the circular and longitudinal muscle layers terminate in internal and external anal sphincter. Then subserous layer and muscular layer. The muscular layer is lined with simple columnar epithelium with invagination. That epithelium will go inside the muscularis mucosa, and they form gland, that is intestinal gland, not to confuse with a small intestinal glands. It is known as crypts of colonic crypts. It is known as colonic crypts. Then parts of large intestine. Large intestine is divided into some parts, 7 parts, some will say about 6. Then this is cecum and appendix from the lower end, from the right iliac fossa, cecum and appendix. Cecum, at cecum ileum, that is third part of terminal ileum, ends here or communicate with large intestine. This is cecum with appendix. Then ascending colon, then transverse colon, descending colon, sigmoid colon. Sigmoid means S-shaped, that is shape of this part is S-shaped. Sigmoid colon, rectum and anal canal. These are types of parts of this large intestine. Now, what are the intraperitoneal structure? Intraperitoneal structure means organ or structure of the body, inside the peritoneum. Completely, it is completely covered with peritoneum. Only mesentery is there. So, surrounded by peritoneum are intraperitoneal structure. They are mobile. For example, as far as this large intestine is involved, cecum with appendix, transverse colon and sigmoid colon are intraperitoneal. Then retroperitoneal or extraperitoneal structure. Organ or structure of the body behind the peritoneum do not have complete cover of peritoneum, are extraperitoneal structure. Means this is not covered from both sides. It is only on the on one side only. Then it is not covered with peritoneum completely. It is known as extraperitoneal structure. As far as this is concerned, large intestine. Here ascending colon, descending colon, sigmoid colon and rectum are extraperitoneal structures. Then nerve supply of large intestine. Parasympathetic nerve supply and sympathetic nerve supply. Two types of nerve supply is there. Parasympathetic nerve supply causes stimulation of parasympathetic nerve supply causes increase in colonic movements. Movement of colon increases. Cecum with appendix, ascending colon, transverse colon and part of the descending colon are supplied by vagus. Then sigmoid colon, rectum and anal canal via pelvic nerves from sacral spinal cord. This is nerve supply of parasympathetic. Then sympathetic nerve supply. Stimulation of sympathetic nerve supply decreases colonic movements. Parasympathetic stimulation was causing increased colonic movement. Sympathetic is causing decreased movement. This is by superior and inferior mesenteric plexus and superior and inferior hypogastric plexus. Sympathetic is supplied by superior and inferior mesenteric plexus and superior and inferior hypogastric plexus. Secretion. Only mucus is secreted, no enzyme etc. are secreted. Only mucus is secreted, no enzyme from large intestine. Then functions of large intestine. Storage of chyme. Functions. Number 1, storage of chyme. In large intestine, mixture of chyme of many meals of 1 to 3 days are present in contrast to a small intestine where no chyme storage occurs. Function first is storage of chyme. That is, in large intestine, chyme of 1 to 3 days are present, whereas in a small intestine we have seen no chyme is stored. Then absorption. Absorption of water and electrolytes and many absorbable nutrients from the chyme. It receives 2 liter chyme per day, average 2 liter chyme per day from a small intestine, but its output is only 200 ml per day. It also absorbs vitamins such as thiamine, riboflavin and vitamin K formed by the gut flora, produced by or formed by the gut flora or colonic flora. Colonic flora means or gut flora, that is bacteria present in the gut are known as present in the large intestine are known as colonic bacteria or gut flora. Now, secretion of third function, secretion of potassium or chloride ions. Some chloride ions and potassium ions are lost. In cystic fibrosis, secretion of chloride ions increases many folds. Number 4, a mucus layer protects the large intestine from colonic commensal bacteria and other infections. This mucus present on the, we have learned that this large intestine is having no secretion, but there is mucus. This will trap and remove it. Protects the large intestine from colonic commensal bacteria and other infections. Number 5, it also compacts feces and stores fecal matter in the rectum until it can be discharged via anus in defecation. In large intestine, bacteria are present. They are known as gut flora or colonic bacteria. Gut flora or colonic bacteria. These bacteria break down some of the fibers for their nourishment. They take their nutrition by breaking down the fibers which were not digested in a small intestine. This causes formation of acetate, propionate, etc. as waste products. Bacteria will act on the fibers. Bacteria will act on fibers and they will get their nutrition from them, and acetate, propionate are produced as waste products, which in turn are used by the cell lining of the colon for nourishment. They are used for cell lining of the colon for nourishment. Movements of large intestine. Haustral contraction. Haustral contraction is the segmental movement of a small intestine. Haustra becomes more prominent in these contractions and cause mixing of chyme. Haustral contraction means this is circulation here, and this will contract. When this is contracting, then circulation will increase in size. It was this like, now it becomes, it will increase, haustra becomes more prominent, in this contraction, this contraction causes mixing of chyme. Contraction is mixing of chyme. Then second is propulsive movements. Propulsive movements are like intestinal peristaltic movements. They propel this movement, propulsive movements propel colonic contents towards the rectum. These contractions, colonic propulsive movements in colon are like small intestinal peristalsis. The propulsive movement propel the colonic content toward the rectum. Then mass colonic movement. Third is mass colonic movement, means or mass colonic peristalsis are strong peristaltic contractions that pushes the content from colon to the rectum and force and finally leads to defecation reflex. This is not affected by colostomy. Its frequency is 3 to 4 days per day and usually after a meal. The electrical activity of the muscles of the colon is more complex than that of the small intestine. Colonic reflex. Colonic reflex means a relaxation of the entire colon in response to distension of some part of the colon. Colon in response to distension of one part of the colon. This reflex is partially mediated by synthetic nerve supply. Then gastrocolic reflex. Gastrocolic reflex. When food accumulates in the stomach, they cause motility of proximal and distal colon, which stimulates the desire to defecation. The reflex is well developed in children. They will eat and they will go to the latrine. They will eat. This is due to gastrocolic reflex. This reflex is well developed in children and mediated by gastrin. When there is no gastrin, this will not occur, gastrocolic reflex, and not by neural factors. In large intestine, over 700 species of bacteria with multiple functions as well as fungi and protozoa are also present. In large intestine, over 700 species of bacteria with multiple functions as well as fungi and protozoa are present. The microbes in the distal gut is 100 trillion. So this is just like this mass is mostly forming a symbiotic microbe, symbiotic microscope. That is, it has therefore it was called forgotten organ. In treatment with broad spectrum antibiotics, what happens that broad spectrum antibiotic will kill the bacteria and also the bacteria present in the better or helpful bacteria present in the gut flora, resulting in loss of vitamin complex. We have seen that this bacterium produce number one, thiamine, riboflavin or vitamin K. These are formed. One clinical case redundant colon. Redundant colon means colon are, in this case, large colon are longer than normal. What is normal? 1.5 meter is normal. Its length is more, up to 5 meters. It has no effect on health, though rarely volvulus occur causing intestinal obstruction. Number 2, sigmoidoscopy, colposcopy, proctoscopy, etc. are endoscope to see the condition of the